Although fantasy is often associated with medieval times, castles, and long bearded wizards in the popular minds, there are in fact many sub fantasy genres that are explored in the anime. From dark to contemporary fantasies, there is much to learn and even more to love about these infinite possibilities that comes with such a rich and complex genre. One of the many strengths of fantasy is its ability to be coupled with a wide range of elements from other main genres such as romance, comedy, and even horror. It is also easily adaptable to any age range, giving you the option to choose a light-hearted, kid-friendly anime series or a darker anime with much more mature content. These 10 anime series listed in this video are an absolutely must watch and will for sure keep you entertained till the end. So without any further ado, let's start with our video. On the 10th number, the anime name is No Game No Life. No Game No Life is about two needs, Sora and Shiro, who are geniuses when it comes to games. They are transported to a world where games decides everything from national borders to thefts. Because Sora and Shiro are amazing at games, this world called as this board seems like their dream world. And the art of this anime actually reflects this quite uniquely, with its unique colorations and art style. The voices are very well done, and the soundtracks are very fitting. The characters each have their comedic elements associated with them. So depending on the current interactions of the characters, different jokes and comedy scenes can be made. This helps freshen up the comedy and keep it new. The story of No Game No Life is well built. First off, the premise is very well explained. There is a world where 10 plagues govern sentient beings and games decide everything. Why this is explained early on, and plagues are constantly stated to make sure audience understands everything. The story is entertaining and progresses quite naturally. Sora and Shiro must take small steps before they take the large ones, and that is reflected in this 12 episode series. On the 9th number, the anime name is Spice and Wolf. Being a story about trading goods, there is about to be a lot of dialogues between bartering, negotiations, trading information, and chemistry between Horo and Lawrence. And if there's going to be a lot of dialogues in an anime, then it better at least be intelligent and make sense. Luckily, this show does it very well, almost perfectly. And it's safe to say that this is because how Horo and Lawrence feed off each other's energies so well that you almost feel like you're right there arguing with Holo. Holo is a powerful wolf goddess who is celebrated and revered in a small town of Pasloe for blessing the annual harvest. Yet as the year goes by, the villagers becomes more self-sufficient, and Holo, who stylizes herself as the wise world of Yoitsu, has been reduced to a folk tale. When a traveling merchant named Kraft Lawrence stops at Paslo, Holo offers to become his business partner if he eventually takes her to a northern home of Yoitsu. The savvy trader recognizes Holo's unusual ability to evaluate a person's character and accept her proposition. Now in the possession of both sharp business skills and charismatic negotiator, Lawrence goes closer to his goals of opening his own shop. However, as Lawrence travels to the countryside with Holo in the search of economic opportunities, he begins to realize that his aspirations are slowly morphing into something unexpected. On the 8th number, the anime name is Aono Exorcist. The story was so tightly packed in the first 3 episodes, it felt like I was watching some kind of epic movie. I'll admit the basic plot has been done before. We all had our shares of Sons of Saitans, but this anime still manages to be interesting anyway. Somehow it has a spark which makes it amazingly unique, yet it still includes anime cliches at the same time. The good thing about this show is that you will know if you like the story just from the first episode. Humans and the demons are the two sides of the same coin, as are Asaya and Gehenna, their respective worlds. The only way to travel between this realm is by means of possession, like in ghost stories. However, Satan, the ruler of the Gehenna, cannot find a suitable host to possess and therefore remains imprisoned in his world. In a desperate attempt to conquer Asaya, he sends his son instead, intending for him to eventually grow into a vessel capable of possession by the Demon King. Aono Exorcist follows Rin Okumura, who appears to be an ordinary, somewhat troublesome teenager. This is until one day he is ambushed by demons. His world turns upside down when he discovers that he is in fact the very son of Satan and that his demon father wishes for him to return so that they can conquer Asaya together. Not wanting to join the king of Gehenna, Rin decides to begin training to become an exorcist so that he can fight to defend Asaya alongside his brother Yukio. On the 7th number, the anime name is ReZero, starting life in another world. I never thought that an anime would be able to effectively combine dark psychological elements with an upbeat fantasy setting. However, genius behind ReZero, Tappei Nagatsuki, was able to expertly mix these two seemingly incompatible genres together, and the results are quite impressive. The show begins with our protagonist Natsuki Subaru getting suddenly transported to a fantasy world after leaving a convenience store. Being an otaku who has probably dreamed about something like this happening to him for years, Subaru is naturally excited to be in this new world. However, to his dismay, Subaru quickly learns that he doesn't have any special abilities or powers. Or so he thinks like that. Anyway, he encounters the beautiful half-elf Emilia when she saves him from a group of thugs. Thus the two of them starts their adventure. This beginning seems quite cliched. However, everything changes dramatically when Subaru finds himself dead. Well, yeah, that was unexpected, right? The protagonist of the ReZero dies before the first episode even ends. Really? Well, we soon learn that Subaru actually does possess a magical ability called as Return from Death. However, this power only works when Subaru dies. When this skill activates, Subaru essentially travels back in time to a certain checkpoint to relive to that part of his life in order to change his future where he successfully complete a certain objective or just stay alive. Being a fan of shows involving time traveling, I was excited to see where Nagatsuki was going with this, and I wasn't disappointed with this result. I was initially worried that ReZero would end up getting boring with the protagonist constantly failing and traveling back in time to relive the exact same scenarios over and over again. However, with each new life, the progression of the story alters, sometimes dramatically, and many new elements are revealed to Subaru which were previously unknown that helps him to solve the problems he faces and to move on. This keeps the anime fresh and exciting since something different happens with each life. And that's why ReZero is one of my personal favorite fantasy anime of all time. On the 6th number, the anime name is Mushishi. Mushishi is essentially a series of stories styled after East Asian legends and folk tales. In the lieu of gods, spirits, and demons, the paranormal phenomena are attributed to more primitive yet no less enigmatic creatures called as Mushi. Dealing with their kind is the expertise of Mushishi, professionals whose role may be though of an amalgam of healers, exorcism, biologists, X-File investigators and JD masters. Well, sort of. Ginkgo, our main character, happens to be one of these Mushishi, and he wanders from town to town looking for interesting cases and lending a people helping hand to those adversely affected by these Mushis. As formulaic as its premise may sound, no two incidents are alike and every episode features not only different Mushi but a different setting and cast as well. Because of this, the series is able to experiment with various concepts and human relationships, and none of the stories has ever ended in the predictable manner. As such, there is a little room for stagnation as each tale manages to be quite unique and refreshing. The title is often mentioned too in the same breath of Kino no Tabi. Mushishi's oriental setting and enigmatic influence gives it a more distinct flavor and themes, whereas Kino limits herself to exploring what-if scenarios by visiting different countries. Ginkgo takes it a step further by providing possible solutions and emphasizing the importance of living in harmony and nature with fellow men and most importantly with the self. On the 5th number, the anime name is Fate Series. Fate Series is a Type Moon media collective that follows various events called as Holy Grains Wars that involves masters generally accomplished by Magi, summoning servants who are heroic spirits and battling each other until the last remaining pair can claim the purported Holy Grail. It begins with the visual novel Fate Stay Night and has since gathered a number of prequels, sequels, spin-offs and adaptations bearing the same Fate name. It is not possible to explain the plot of Fate series because of this. It follows different storylines, different characters and all type of different settings. But I can guarantee you one thing, that this is one of the best fantasy animes out there. Because of so many spin-offs and sequels, it's really hard to get into the Fate series. That's why I already have a video on it. I have explained about how you should start with the franchise and what should be your watch order. So make sure to watch that video before starting with the Fate series. On the 4th number, the anime name is The 7 Deadly Sins. The funny thing about sins is that we all have it. There's a sin in everyone. It's really simple because they are natural human instincts. That's hardly what Nanatsu no Taizai is about though. On the surface, the show seems to talk about scenes in their variety, but really, this series is more about a journey. One that has our heroes find those lost sins. Like those classic adventures, Nanatsu no Taizai or Seven Deadly Sins crafts the extraordinary portraits of how a journey should be in such a fantasy world. The story revolves around Meliodas and Elizabeth, who both goal is to gather 7 deadly sins. Although initially their goal for gathering 7 deadly sins is different, but in the end their reason for wanting to gather them intertwines with each other. The story follows them as they gather the sins and almost clearing their names on false lies about them, while also in combat with the Holy Knights. The story follows the normal shonen formula, but it does tweak it a little bit to make the series not be named as just another generic shonen anime. Standing on its feet, the show marks its spot for the fantasy anime, clearly evidenced by its colorful background. The artwork is very well adapted from the manga to illustrate a diverse range of characteristics you would find in any shonen series. Mountain ranges, enchanted forests, and crude dungeons are all fantastically illustrated. The character designs also has variety to give each of them a unique look. Of course, the animation of the series gets a little bit weirder in the third season, but still it's good. And 7 Deadly Sins is of course worth your time. On the second number, Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. With a setting based on Arabic Nights, you can expect or at least hope for a gripping narrative. Thankfully, Magi is structured so that the focus on the two main protagonists is well orchestrated and has a unique vibe to it. Through this, the story can become very dark and gripping, while not losing the narrative too. What differentiates this from the other shonen is the political aspect. As a king, you must resign, but how will you do it? Through this question, the different nations and the factions can interact in a believable environment without it ever being like the author is asking you to pretend they would do that. The story is set in an alternative recreation of an ancient old world, with several regions and nations have some resemblance with real life counterparts from that time. In this world, all living beings possess an essence known as Rukh, and when they die, returns to the huge flow also known as the guidance of Rukh that gives the life to all subsequent beings in an eternal cycle of birth and death. Once a person is overcome with sadness, anger and hopelessness, the Rukh turns corrupted, unstable, black colored Rukh that deviates from the main guidance in the process known as fall into depravity. There are also several magic castles full of treasures and traps known as dungeons, and each of them is the lair of the powerful magic being, a Dijin. Individuals that manages to overcome the trials of dungeons and earn the allegiance of the Dijin are known as dungeon capturers, gaining the ability to use its powerful infused in the personal items of them known as the metal vessels, and create less potent household vessels for their companions as well. Sounds interesting, right? The plot and the world building of this anime is really amazing, and I think you should definitely check out this underrated fantasy anime of all time. On the second number, the anime name is Made in Abyss. Made in Abyss isn't all what it appears to be, though it may seem like little more than an adventurous children's anime, chibi art and all. It gradually reveals itself as something much darker, as Rico's and Reg's hopeless ascent continues, which stumbles upon no happy ending in sight. Made in Abyss has one of the most interesting settings in anime, a city built around a giant pit, gaping downward for tens of thousands of meters, and its nature is also unknown. Treasure and terrifying beasts awaiting for anyone who wishes to test their luck. What's at the very bottom of that pit? How deep can one truly go before death is inevitable? In many ways, the pit is seen as hell. For each layer they reach, they encounter something more ghastly than the last one, and stench of death progressively grows stronger. But Rico and Reg presses onward, determined to find Rico's mother, no matter if this comes to danger, and find themselves as a permanent resident of the abyss. With this amazing world building, the story also puts focus on the duo rather than the actual world at large, preferring instead of carefully revealing the details of the world through their eyes and ears, involving the viewers from the more spectator to active participants. You don't know much about the pit's third, fourth layer until they reach and see it for themselves. And the fifth and the beyond remains a complete mystery because nobody has ever actually survived to tell the tale. It's an elegant way to keep the viewers interested. It makes you feel like I don't want to be told what to expect, but I want to see for myself what monsters and contaminations of other awful awaits further they fall. It makes you feel really excited and gets you hooked really quickly. And I find myself with the next episode playing as soon as the credit hit rolls. And I'm sure you will do that too. And on the first number, one of my favorite all-time fantasy and one of the most funniest anime of all time is Konosuba. Despite the fact that there is almost no actual story and it's more like a slice of life, a stereotypical MMORPG world, the little events that happens are creative and enjoyable, especially to you hardcore MMORPG gamers out there. Konosuba's first episode is actually one of the better first episode in the medium, as it tells you exactly what you are getting yourself into. The show parodies the mechanics of the MMORPG games to the point that boner induces laughing, such as highlighting the outrageousness of what MMO skills can do, as well as the randomness and weirdness of MMO events and quests. It also has parodies of animes by using subtle fourth wall break in reaction to what the characters say or do. The show itself is a parody, and the characters know it. Konosuba has this quirk of doing something so stupidly outrageous that you can't even get mad at it. This show is incredibly self-aware of its silliness, and as a result takes it even higher. Konosuba has this thing that it likes to do, and that's to bring everything full of circles for laugh. And when I say full circle, I mean literally full circle. As in, by the end of all the outrageous things happening, the story hasn't progressed a single step. Even so, there is a sense of growing bond. Perhaps an unhealthy bond, but a bond for sure. And this is definitely something that progresses throughout the series. Unfortunately, this developing bond leaves the story in the dust. Konosuba is like Parker. It takes the most insane and outrageous routes to get to where it wants to go, except it doesn't go anywhere. And that's why you should 100% check out Konosuba. And not just Konosuba, but I'm talking about all of the animes listed in this video. Each and every anime in this video is worth your time, and I'm 100% sure that you will enjoy each of them. And I think that was it. That concluded the video about the top 10 fantasy animes of all time. What are your thoughts about this list? Which is your favorite anime out of this list? Let me know answers to those things in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, just don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel because I post daily anime content about top 10 top 5 listings, anime reviews, recommendations, news, theories and all sort of anime content on daily basis. So if you enjoyed, please subscribe, and that was it. And I will see you in the next one. Sayonara.